What did urban governments, and typically we think of many of the cities of this period, like Venice, for example, as having in some sense the most effective governance of anything for its time. How did they respond to these plagues?
The cities in general were really cesspools. Animals were living in the city, slaughterhouses were in the city, the sewage was running in the gutter, people were throwing their feces and urine out the window. That's why, by the way, men walk on the outside in the street, so they'll take the brunt of this onslaught. So the cities were really pretty foul. But Venice, the Doge, having a very well-organized government, did a lot of things which tell me that they understood it wasn't just miasmas and bad air. And so here's some of the things they did. The first, well, maybe it was food, right? So they inspected wine, fresh meat, and the water. If you don't know, just inspect. Ships were boarded and searched for, I hate to say this in this time, but foreigners. They didn't know to look for rats, but they looked for foreigners, those foreigners, and corpses. They improved the sewage. They had a sense that it wasn't good to have feces floating in the streets, so they improved the sewage. They had burial regulations, so the corpses were thrown into barges.
For various diseases, these would be the right response, right? So it happened not to be the right response, but they're good,
response. They controlled crowds. You couldn't have a religious procession without a license, even though people wanted to go out and manifest their faith in God to do something about the plague. Public drinking houses were shut down for two reasons. Folks thought that immorality was an invitation to God to punish you with the plague, but also their meeting places. They restricted beggars and prostitutes and told the military to stop carousing in the town. Here's the interesting thing. This is the first time people actually recorded the causes of death. This is a glimpse of modern epidemiology. If you start getting data, you can begin to look for patterns, and I thought that was very interesting. They had
this reminds me of one of my favorite images from Venice, which is in the Doge's palace. They have this wonderful room where they have these glorifying portraits of their notaries. And a society that believes its notaries are heroes is a society that believes in data. And
that's interesting. I'll have to go next time. They had a cordon sanitaire. You had to have a health pass. It's like when you're in classroom in the good old days, you'd have to have a green lavatory pass to go to the bathroom. You had to get a pass to get into Venice or to leave. They had an incident command structure. This is a very modern idea now for any pandemic. You establish a command and control center, just as you would in the military, that makes all decisions and makes sure everybody knows what they are. So, for example, if somebody had the plague, they painted the house with vinegar and fumigated it with sulfur. That sounds like they have an idea there's contagion there. The
command center point is a point that's routinely made nowadays by Kennedy School experts on how you deal with disasters. So they, for example, will emphasize that the fire service, when they deal with fires, is great at putting together this sort of command and control. And this was a major failure in Katrina, was the failure to establish a clear command and control structure. So this sort of militarization of the thing seems to be, to this day, a critical element in dealing with all sorts of disasters.
Yeah, and they set up with pest houses or lazarettos. They seized dwellings from people to set them up. They said, we're going to have these places. And there was a formal board of health, which is, I haven't seen any earlier board of health. That's pretty incredible. So the degree of sophistication, we tend to paint people in the ancient days as ignorant, and they believe in miasmas, and they wear masks with big beaks with Arabs in it so that they don't smell the miasmas. But they were actually more clever than that.